2, 1, go. Hey, coaches. Welcome to another edition of Shakeology and To Be Mindset. We are excited today to have one of the co-creators of Shakeology, Darin Olien. Larry Ross is on with us as well. We are going to be going over Shakeology, all things Shakeology, and how it intersects a bit more with To Be Mindset. Darin is an incredible human being. Besides being the ingredient hunter and the co-formulator of Shakeology, he's got tremendous knowledge when it comes to not only health but also fitness. I know a lot of you are in this group, in search of optimizing your health, but a lot of you are into fitness as well. So we are excited to have you, Darin. We'd love to welcome you on the call. We've got thousands of people of To Be Mindsetters, we like to call them, that are just experiencing incredible results and have been able to do so, in a few weeks, and they continue to just do some great things. So we want to welcome you to the call, and glad to spend a little bit of time with you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. This is a very cool program, and I'm excited to talk about the qualities of Shakeology as it intersects with the qualities of the To Be Mindset.
Outstanding. So why don't we, for starters, Darin, give a bit of how it all started as far as Shakeology, and what the initial objective was as you created Shakeology.
Yeah, so stepping back years ago when I decided to formally, professionally formulate, for me, it didn't make sense to not understand the ingredients from a visceral perspective. So eyeball to eyeball with people of origin, indigenous countries around the globe, I started traveling, I started formulating, I started finding and discovering certain superfoods that have been used for thousands and thousands of years. So I was very excited and passionate about that. And so as the journey continued, as I started to dig into this stuff, the serendipity came by way of meeting Isabel, and we quickly realized that our mindset around the health view and herbal world and really from that perspective was so aligned that then really sitting down with Carl really entrusted us with taking this responsibility on. And this responsibility is really from the aspect of, and I'll get more into it as it relates to you guys, but it was really taking the responsibility of where we're at here in our modern day world and stressors and things like that, and how we could then help facilitate these great botanicals that have very powerful abilities to address some of these modern day worlds. And that's where the kind of the fun of seeing where ancient worlds come together in this modern day situation that we find ourselves in. And that was really the instruction point that we asked ourselves: what is the best, really what's the questions that we need to ask to then supply us with the information and the kind of cornerstones of all these different buckets of what is in Shakeology, so it properly addresses kind of the poor nutrient world that we're in and the high demands of stress that we're under, whereby our cellular desire for nutrients is an all-time high, and our cultivation of actually receiving nutrients is at an all-time low, whereby that gave us let's find the greatest botanicals in the world that have been used for some of tens of thousands of years, and be a facilitator through our quality assurance, through direct vertical integration of our suppliers and growers and collectors, and then facilitate this botanical kind of array of this multitude of nutrients to fill in the gaps, to kind of fill in that missing link. And that's really what the cornerstone of the formulation was, and still is to this day. As the very important thing is, as we evolve in science, as we evolve in our abilities to understand botanicals and processing them, our formula is always a moving evolution. So the formula that was first started is different now and better than it was in the beginning, because we have new botanicals that we have been able to put in the formula that contribute in such a great way. And the synergy of that within the formula is really where the magic is. And the science is, whereby we can put ingredients together, and that sum of all the individual ingredients makes the whole product that much more important and intense, and kind of fitting into that what are we missing kind of thing. So anyway, that's the origin, and I can get more into how that intersects with the 2B mindset as well.
Yeah, I think that's, you've shared some great points. The fact that not only, have we brought the greatest botanicals, but we continue to evolve. I think that continuous research and pouring into all this, into these new formulas of Shakeology is critically important for people to understand that we're keeping up with the times. So absolutely. How do we keep up with those times? How do we, what kind of research, in layman terms, be able to share with us?
Absolutely. I mean, there's twofold, right? So there's a very clear science that the herbal world is moving into, that the functional food and supplement world, it's one of the biggest growing markets in the health nutritional world, is that functional aspect of foods, botanicals, herbs, and realizing their strong functional capacity in facilitating a healthy body. That science, because of the market need and desire, because of chronic issues, and regular doctors are just they're not the facilitators of health. They're the great people to go to when you're sick, but they're not what we're all looking for. We're not, when you want to be optimized and be healthy, we need to look back towards these ancient technologies. But the science now, and because of the market, because of the need, now the science has money and we're able to look at the science. But at the same time, I can tell you that being out in the field, being out in the countries, being able to be, meet with people who have studied these things for 50 years, they're not on a Google search, but they have a plethora of information from Vietnam to India to the Himalayas to the jungles. That to me is some of the greatest discoveries. And then you can discover that stuff and then back it in science. So there's this beautiful balance between kind of this natural world and getting exposed to that and seeing what's possible. And then as the emerging science comes, we can really help to facilitate the formulation from that perspective. Like, for example, some of my favorite botanicals in the world, even while I was formulating, the botanicals weren't at a place where they were even commercially available. For example, chaga mushrooms, one of the greatest medicinal mushrooms on the planet, it wasn't ready. So later, years down, we were able to facilitate and figure out how to make a sustainable supply, and thereby it makes it into Shakeology. The same with moringa. Moringa is one of the great botanicals, one of the great green foods of the planet. If I was on an island and I had one food to eat for the rest of my life, it would be moringa. So the ability for us to continue to be creative and listen to science and increase our ability as a team to do that makes it very exciting. Or else, for me, I would have been bored so long ago that I would have gotten myself in trouble somewhere else. So that's a beautiful, moving situation. And there's many unsexy things that you'll never hear about that we're always improving. The ability to increase the processing ability, to increase botanical strength, because we understand growing seasons and stuff like that. That's always ongoing, and that's very exciting. And just knowing that you have a product here that with their money where their mouth is, that our teams of people get to go around the world and test with our eyes, with our people, to get on their hands and knees to check facilities out in third world countries, to test active compounds to make sure that that powder is active and it's the botanical signature that was meant to. And all of this by saying, I'll bridge myself into the next conversation, is that as it relates to the 2B mindset, there's this, stressful world and this nutrient poor kind of monocropping and profit-centered agriculture that has kind of created this gap for us. So we definitely need to get our food under control. And so like with the 2B mindset, a lot of vegetables, right? I love that. Like it made songs in my head as soon as I heard that, right? So pushing these great botanicals of vegetables back into and understanding the ratios and having consciousness around that. But where Shakeology kind of flies in here is because of these specific nutrient densities, these botanicals, these superfoods that are not just a fancy term. These are things by per calorie, they have more nutrients per another calorie. So that's why they have this functional aspect of facilitating health. So when we're under stress, when we're undernourished, just by way of our food's not the same anymore and it's not wild anymore, we need the facilitation of helping us mitigate stress and give our bodies the vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants, enzymes, prebiotics, probiotics, all of these things we require in this kind of modern day stressful situation so that we can optimize ourselves. And that's really where the beautiful thing of we have to come to a place where we're eating well and understanding that. And the 2B mindset's fantastic. And then bringing in Shakeology, this is not a marketing speak. This is literally, from my professional opinion, get your superfoods in. And just like Isabel said, when it started, when she was making formulas herself for Carl and trying to find all of this stuff, well, we just made it ourselves and made it available to you guys. We made available this nutrient dense cacophony of superfoods so that it could help again facilitate the missing links that we're still not getting, even if we're eating perfectly and have zero stress. We require these things.
Outstanding. And really, really great answer. I think it's important to understand. I think when you said profit-centered agriculture, you would think that it should be nutrition-centered agriculture. It's not profit-centered. Unfortunately, part of profit is, taking off of, the sort of the bottom line, right? If it's profit, you've got to make sure you have a bottom line. So that's great to hear that. So we've got a couple questions that just came in. The first one that I see is, let's see, can I use Shakeology in place of lunch?
Sure. Again, I think it's, Laura would have to know that more than me, but I think you can use it for snacks or lunch, or I think you can use it in addition to, at least if you're on the 2B mindset. So without a doubt, you can, my philosophy is, as it fits into whatever quadrant within the 2B mindset, get it in, no matter where it kind of, just figure out how to get it in that works for you. And that's what I would say. So yes, I think that you don't want to nutritionally starve yourself. So you always want to make sure you're getting it in at some point.
Excellent. Lara, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say that, as you guys know, Shakeology is considered a protein. You should be having protein at breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snack. So it absolutely can be part of your lunch as your protein, making sure you're eating your vegetables. So absolutely works perfectly as lunch.
Yeah, and I would say to that too, that this is just, from the macro perspectives of how 2B Mindset's put together, obviously you have dominances in food that are, okay, there's, more protein in that than say other things, and maybe more hydrates in one. And so you're having in these buckets. The truth is, just like Shakeology, the truth is you're getting everything all the time with all food, right? So even fruit has small amounts of protein. And obviously dominant in carbohydrates. So the point is that, yes, there's protein in Shakeology, so it fits. That's where in this 2B mindset, we put it into that protein fix, but you're also getting carbohydrates, fiber, fats, other things too. So it's not just macro, it's understanding that dominant macros to get your consciousness around that with the 2B mindset is a crucial cornerstone of understanding your health, but then understanding that the real truth is in the micros. And that's why, plant-centered, because the micronutrients, the superfoods, which are micronutrient centered, really, because they're giving you so much more benefit than just the macros.
Outstanding. Another question that you've heard before, gluten-free. Are there any plans to make Shakeology gluten-free in the future?
Yeah, this is a tricky thing. And so that the legal answer is, well, the real answer is there's no gluten in Shakeology. So let's just be clear. There's no gluten in Shakeology. However, with that amount of ingredients, and it's really kind of around the oat protein, because of processing facilities and legalities, even if you're processing an oat protein in a facility that has a wheat, maybe it's in another building, maybe it's in the end of that building, there's legal ramifications and growing food sensitivities to people that legally at this point we cannot put that we're gluten, certified gluten-free. But there's no gluten in Shakeology. It's really for that sensitivity, those people that really we can't be at risk for a dust particle of wheat to fall into our oat protein and hurt somebody. So it's really a conservative answer legally that we can't say it's certified gluten-free, but there's no gluten in Shakeology.
Outstanding, and thanks for clarifying that. I think that's a question that we get a lot, and it's good to hear directly from the co-creator of Shakeology. So lots of people like to play with Shakeology, whether they freeze it or bake it. Does it keep it the same health benefits, in a frozen or baked, fashion if you were to consume it that way?
Well, certainly freezing, because freezing it is always a step of preservation. So we know that. But whenever something has been introduced to oxygen and air and water, you're going to get activation. You got to understand that this is food, right? Just like if you cut an apple and leave it out, is it the same after an hour? No, it started to oxidize. It started to degrade. And so if you put something in heat, those precious micronutrients that we've worked so hard to preserve, with heat and oxygen, it's going to facilitate the degradation of those. So listen, if you want to bake with something in Shakeology, cool. But don't be under the illusion that you're going to get all of the micronutrients that are there if you follow our instructions of making a shake and drinking it. So, but is there harm in that? No. I mean, if I were to want a little protein bump in a muffin, I would probably use Shakeology too. So just understand you're not getting the full benefits, because that's common sense. And I think everyone would know that. So common sense is we've preserved everything to our best of our ability. we've suspended it from activating because we've dehydrated it. As soon as you add water, as soon as you add any heat, as soon as you leave it out for way too long after you've made the shake, there's degradation that's starting to happen. So just keep that in mind in terms of treat this as food and you'll be fine. Like I have 4 Shakeology bags that I go in and out of. And because obviously I'm not drinking 4 a month, I just keep them in the fridge because I consider them food. And I know they've come from all around the world. So I have a little bias to keep those things very preserved. So that's me.
You are a Shakeology purist, and there's a lot of people that like playing around with the flavor of Shakeology and adding a few things other than just water or ice. And so if, for instance, someone wanted to add something to Shakeology, what would you suggest they add, to either make it, taste a certain way,
yeah,
but importantly, keep also the health benefits that Shakeology gives?
Well, I mean, you teed me up here, and that's really why we created the boosts. So like the focused energy boost, one of the greatest unsung heroes of formulations in Beachbody, by the way. The focused energy's got tons more of adaptogens, ginsengs, cordyceps, guarana. So it's got that special form of caffeine in there. So if you need a little boost of energy, focused energy, then our greens boost, you can never get enough greens to help facilitate cleansing in the body. So adding the greens boost and of course fiber boost. But so all of those we created so that people can kind of facilitate their own health. But at the end of the day too, some wild, fresh, frozen blueberries I like to use because blueberries, still the evidence shows that blueberry is one of the greatest foods in the world. And new evidence is showing that blueberries is turning on some healing stem cells. And we underestimate the power of normal foods. So bananas, blueberries, getting that consistency, even like a half of avocado, these kind of things are really good. Maybe freshly ground up chia seeds, things like that, I think are incredibly cool. And being a complicated formula, I can tend to add things that are not too complicated. So for me, I'll put blueberries, banana, some dates, keep the water low, make it really thick, make it super cold. And during the summer, that's like beautiful to me.
Very cool. And I think one of the things that you've added is, making it taste a certain way. There's some people that will add, almond milk or various different things to make it taste, which is palatable to them. Obviously,
Sure.
Palates are, a thing that is different for everybody else. So, Lara, I think we've covered all the questions. Darin, this was outstanding.
Awesome. Thank you, Darin.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to put mine in the refrigerator now. I never do. I'm going to do that.
It's just, why not? If you have the space, why not?
Very good. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We will put the recording of this somewhere under this post. And of course, we've got both Isabel and Darin that are co-creators of Shakeology. Can't say thank you enough for creating that. And it merges just greatly with what Lara and Ilana have created in 2B Mindset. So
absolutely,
you guys have a great day and a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.